Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is November 28th. Dylan Cease, you are a Blue Jay. Sonny Gray, you are a Red Sox. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? Happy Thanksgiving to all of you Americans, and happy normal day to all you Canadians. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world, how are you doing today? We've got a little bit of a longer episode potentially. There's not a lot of things to talk about, but the things to talk about are, believe it or not, worth talking about it. Very excited for this one today. So with that being said, I just kind of want to get into the news a little bit here. The Blue Jays land the big first splash of the offseason. How about that? The defending American League champions, the team that lost in the World Series, they're the first to strike when the oven is hot. The Blue Jays have landed one of, if not the top pitching player from the free agency market. Dylan Cease is heading to the Blue Jays on a 7-year deal worth $210 million. How do you like them apples? I quite love them apples. Dylan Cease, if you don't know, he's been in top 5 of Cy Young voting twice in the last 4 years. Of course, 2022, he came runner-up that year to a guy you may have heard of, Garrett Cole, with the Yankees. And then in 2024 as well, finished 4th in Cy Young voting. That was his first year with the Padres when he got moved from the White Sox. Of course, he spent 5 years with the White Sox and the last 2 years with the Padres for a total of a 7-year big league career. His best year, of course, that 2020 season with a 6.4 WAR, had a 2.20 ERA for the Chicago White Sox. And this is an interesting move for a number of reasons, and I've seen a lot of things on social media, and I've had to wrap my head around the move a couple of times. But all in all, I think the contract is a 8 out of 10. I think it's exactly what Toronto needs, is to start early and strike when the oven's hot. The oven has been cold as hell, but guess what? They got it turned on. What you get from Dylan Cease here, you get a guy who's healthy. You know, he's pitched 32 games, 33 games, 33 games, 32 games, 32 games. Like, you go back, and even COVID in 12 games, that was pretty much the max that you would have gotten. So, since he's come up, he has been healthy. He has made every start. He's making 30-plus starts a season, every season since 2019 when he debuted, when he made 14 starts. Midway through the season, he came up. And then ever since then, he's been healthy. He's been pitching. You get a guy who's going to strike out a lot of batters. You know, the last 5 seasons, he's got 200-plus Ks in each of those seasons. 226, 227, 214, 224, and 215. So basically, what the Blue Jays just got is a guy who's going to go out there, get 200 strikeouts, and make every start and be healthy. That's essentially the ceiling of what the Blue Jays can get. Now, going into the big news, or not the big news, but like the most recent thing that people are digesting here is last year in his 2025 season, Cease had an 8-12 record. He had a 4.55 ERA. In 168 innings pitched, he allowed 152 hits, allowed 85 earned runs, and gave up a career-high 21 home runs. Now, is this just a down year, or is this the trajectory of Dylan Cease going forward? For me, I see it as a down year. His 2023 season, separating his 2 top 5 Cy Young years, he had a 4.58 ERA with a 7-9 record. Granted, that one was with the White Sox, but you gotta think, Dylan Cease was with the Padres last year. Padres were a good team overall. For me, one thing that stands out was the Padres defense. The Padres defense is nowhere as good as the Blue Jays defense. Dylan Cease had the ERA, I said, of 4.55. He had an expected ERA, I believe, of 3.56 or 3.6 something. Almost a full run less, a full point down from 4.5 to 3.5 essentially, was his expected ERA. So a lot of last year's struggles was Dylan Cease getting unlucky. He had starts that got away from him. And I think if you go through his game log, you'll see starts where he's going 7 innings with 2 hits and 9 to 10 strikeouts. And then you'll see some starts where he's going 3 innings, giving up 8 hits and 7 earned runs. Like, that was the Dylan Cease of last year. And obviously that's not very consistent overall. But again, part of that Dylan Cease struggles was just getting unlucky, whether it was with the defense and the team committing errors or just hitters somehow managing to hit some of his best pitches. And I say best pitches because when Dylan Cease is on top, he is unhittable. I mean, the 200 plus strikeouts for 5+ years, that doesn't happen every day these days. You know, that's a very impressive statistic that Cease is a proud owner of. And, you know, with that being in mind, hey, watch out for Dylan Cease because Dylan Cease is going to come in. He's going to strike you out. Like, even on his bad starts, he's still mustering up 5-6 strikeouts, even on his worst days. And I mean, overall, a 16.7 career WAR in 7 years, that's a solid WAR, 3.88 ERA. And remember, 5 seasons with a White Sox team that, you know, in the early 20s maybe was good, the early 2020, 2021. You know, they were decent White Sox teams. They were kind of putting it together and how quickly that went away from them. But, you know, Dylan Cease has been a top arm for me. And I think his stuff goes along the upper echelons of some of the best in the game right now. When at the level, Cease has a little bit more inconsistency than the guys like you think of, like Garrett Cole and Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal. But, you know, when you start firing off top pitchers right now, if you want a guy to make a start in a do-or-die game, I mean, for me, Dylan Cease, I think he cracks the top 15, you know, 14, 15. I'd have to actually look at all the starters in the league and actually kind of pinpoint, you know, who I'd want out there. But Cease is definitely one of the guys that would come to mind sooner than later. And I think the Blue Jays land a great deal. Is it a bit of an overpay I'm seeing online? Yeah, probably just a little bit. You know, $210 for a guy that's like $30 million a year. There is deferrals in the contract. But for me, I mean, we've seen the Blue Jays the last couple of seasons when it comes to the offseason come second place behind the Dodgers for a guy like Shohei Ohtani and Roki Sasaki. We've seen them come second place behind the Mets with Soto. You know, like it's something that the Blue Jays have done that is accustomed to, okay, yeah, we're tired of coming second. So is it a bit of an overpay? Maybe a little bit, but at the same time too, you're netting your guy. You're landing the big fish that you maybe wanted. Maybe Bo Bichette's next, maybe Kyle Tucker's next. Like, I don't think the Jays are done spending. I think making it to the World Series last year helps them a lot, and players are seeing the Blue Jays in a different light that I don't think they had in the last couple of seasons. Now you land Santander last year, and of course he had an awfully injured, riddled season, but he's going to be around now. You extend Vladdy to a big contract. You got, you know, the guys that you signed to big contracts at the time in the early 20s, you know, Springer, he's going to be close to done, but like the Blue Jays have formed a really nice team of giving out some longer contracts, some big contracts, and it is working out for them in their favor. I think this is another move that will help them. And when you look at the rotation now, if you get the guys healthy and at their best, you got a Gausman, Yesavage, Bieber, Cease, Barrios. You know, slot that how you will. Barrios, for me, has been the number 2 behind Gausman for a lot of recent years. This year definitely struggled a lot, which is why, you know, people are listing him 5th, because you have the emergence of Yesavage. You have the trade for Bieber, and then, you know, he sticks around on the team-friendly player option there. Now you bring in Cease. I mean, if you get Gausman, Yesavage, Bieber, Cease, Barrios, those 5, if you get them healthy at the best of their ability, we are talking about a top 5, top 3 rotation in baseball. You mix that with a lineup that consists of Vladdy, and if Springer can have a year like he did, and if Kirk can have a year like you did, and if you put those guys from last year and you slot them in the same positions of Ernie Clement and Davis Schneider and Nathan Lucas and everybody contributing, you've got a Blue Jays team that not only will easily win the division, but will probably have another deep playoff run if, again, everything goes according to plan, work on that bullpen a little bit. All in all, this is a phenomenal move for the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays are happy that they got a guy. I think Cease is happy that he's getting, his contract covered. He's getting paid a nice little bit. He's going to a team that just finished first in the AL overall last year. It's as win-win as you can get for the people involved, and those are the best things. So yeah, over the time, will the contract favor the Blue Jays? I don't think so. I don't know. We never know until the 7 years are done. Do you look back at a contract and be like, wow, this was a great investment, or wow, we really screwed the pooch on that one? But for as we sit, November 28th, it's a very solid deal, and I think everyone is happy with that involved in that being said. So yeah, Dylan Cease, Toronto Blue Jays, very excited to see that and see him pitch at the Rogers Center in 2026. Moving on here, let's talk about another AL East team getting a starting pitcher. This one not by means of free agency, but by means of a trade. The Cardinals and Red Sox have swung a trade here. The Red Sox getting the major league talent in this one. They are acquiring Sonny Gray, as well as some cash considerations. In exchange, the Cardinals are getting 2 pitching prospects, as well as potential cash considerations / a player to be named later. The 2 prospects that are definite already in the deal and are already in the Cardinals organization include right-handed pitcher Richard Fitz and left-handed pitcher Brandon Clark, who was number 5 in the Red Sox organization in their prospect system. Clark now joins into number 7 in the Cardinals system. Of course, the prospects don't really talk about much with them, but you always hope that it works out in the end. What we can talk about, though, is Sonny Gray, who, for me, Sonny Gray, I remember this guy with Oakland back in 2015. Sonny Gray was one of those players that I kind of fell in love with early in baseball. I think if you go back to my beginnings of being a baseball fan, Sonny Gray is in that storybook. I remember him in his All-Star Cy Young top 3 finishing year in 2015, and from there I just kind of fell in love with the guy. He's bounced around from New York to Cincinnati to Minnesota to St. Louis. And his time in St. Louis was short, 2 years. In that 2 years, a 3.3 WAR, 27 wins in 60 appearances, 60 starts, a 4.07 ERA as a whole. Sonny Gray's career has just been kind of funny in the long run of things. He's a 3-time All-Star, but his All-Star appearances, he hasn't really had a prime. He kind of has a great year and then disappears for a little bit and then comes back with another great year. When you think of his All-Star years, you got 2015, then you got a 4-year gap to when he was an All-Star with the Reds in 2019. Then you got another 4-year gap, 3-year gap essentially. From 2019, he's then an All-Star in 2023 with the Minnesota Twins. He finished 2nd in Cy Young voting that year. He's got a 2nd finish in Cy Young voting, a 3rd, and then a 7th. So he's a very talented pitcher when he wants to be. He's obviously has his rough years. I think last year probably goes into one of those rougher year territories there. In 32 starts with the Cardinals, a 14-8 record and a 4.28 ERA in 180 innings, gave up 25 home runs, 86 earned runs while striking out 201 batters. It's only the 3rd time in his career that he struck out over 200 batters. The other time were last year in 2024, and then you got to go all the way back into 2019 with the Cincinnati Reds. So he's had 3 seasons where he struck out 200 plus batters. 2 of those seasons were the last couple of seasons. So his strikeout stuff is up, although he's given up more hits and earned runs, but he's just throwing harder. He's evolving with the game. Of course, as I mentioned, he was with Oakland. When I remember him in 2015, he debuted back in 2013. So he'll be entering his 14th year in the big leagues, the 36-year-old. How much more does he have left in the tank? I think it's a good move for Boston. You need to pair up Garrett Crochet with some guys. They've got a lot of starting pitchers that they do like, some young arms and some talent, but you got to get a veteran kind of guy to kind of, oversee things and to really, every second, every third day, make a good start. You don't want Crochet coming in with the Red Sox on a 3-game losing streak, a 4-game losing streak. You got to get a more solid ground there. Sharpening up the rotation, that was something I believe I said that Boston needed to do and needed to look at. Essentially, when you think of Boston, they lost Dustin May. You're bringing in Sonny Gray. If I'm asking you right now, would you rather have Sonny Gray or Dustin May? Sonny Gray wins that conversation for me. So I think this is a good move for Boston. They're also getting $20 million from the Cardinals as well as a part of the deal. Not sure, to get a better prospect, the Cardinals have to give up some money there. Sonny Gray, this year, his contract is $35 million. There is a $30 million mutual option next year with a $5 million buyout. So in total, with the $35 million on his contract this year, plus the $5 million buyout guaranteed next year, he's looking at $40 million that he is still owed from this contract, and by the Cardinals sending them $20 million, that's basically half of Sonny Gray's contract. So Boston's on the book for the other half of that $40 mil, the other $20 mil, part of that 40 there. But if Sonny Gray has a fantastic year and Boston thinks that the $30 million is worth it, he will obviously say yes to that, and Sonny Gray will be with the Red Sox in 2027. Something tells me that won't be happening. I don't know how good of a year Sonny Gray needs to have. Obviously, Sonny Gray probably will be accepting his $30 million option, but again, it's a mutual option. So it is not just Sonny Gray saying, it is also the Red Sox. So he's going to have a really strong year for him to, be agreed that $30 million. But again, with the negotiations coming into next year, we don't even know if we'll have baseball in 2027 at this point, but we'll see. But for now, the Red Sox are getting Sonny Gray. They're getting half the money they need to pay off his contract, and the Cardinals are getting two prospects into their system. For me, I think the Cardinals, that kind of just shows you the kind of year they might be looking at for 2025. I mean, for me, Sonny Gray was their best pitcher. I said it on last episode when I was doing the NL Central free agency needs. I talked about they need starting pitching. I talked about some of the guys they can go out and get. I talked about how after Sonny Gray, there really isn't a notable guy there for me that I like from St. Louis. And now they've just traded away Sonny Gray. So, I mean, I can't really name you a Cardinal starting pitcher off the top of my head. Miles Mikolas, obviously in free agency now. He's gone. Sonny Gray now gone. So it's like, who's the ace of that Cardinal staff? Who's making opening day 2026? Like that for me, and that to me is an issue. If you don't know, if I can't name you a team and they're, their number one guy, I mean, that's not a good sign. I don't believe. Let's see. If I go to Fangraphs really quickly here, the Cardinals ace of the staff that they're going off of right now is Matthew Liberatore, who had a 4.21 ERA last year. He's entering his third year in the big leagues. A 4.21 ERA guy to say, hey, he's going to be our ace. I mean, and you've got Paul Skeens with the Pirates, and you got the Brewers who are always good, the Cubs who have gotten better, the Reds were a playoff team. Like, I don't know. The Cardinals could be fifth next year at this rate. Like, I don't know what the Cardinals are doing, but that's a trade. Boston, big ups to them. Cardinals, I mean, hopefully those prospects work out in your favor, but if they don't, you're also giving up $20 million. It's a lot of money. Anyways, we're talking about contracts a whole lot because, that's part of the free agency process is giving out contracts and, how do they do, right? We talked about Dylan Cease. 10 years from now, are we going to say that Dylan Cease contract was a bad idea for the Blue Jays? Was it a good idea for the Blue Jays? Depends how it works out in that process. But again, it is always fun to look back and say, hey, I wonder how this contract played out to be. Let's do that with Anthony Rendon because some reports came out that the Angels and Rendon are in conversations to buy out the final year of his contract, and if so, he is expected to retire. This is an interesting conversation to have, I guess, because when you think Anthony Rendon, I mean, you've got recency bias. You think of a guy who hates baseball, who just doesn't want to be here, who is just showing up to show up. And I mean, this is a contract that, guess what, for the Angels fans, you regret this contract heavily. When he was with the Nationals, he spent 7 years with the Nationals, from 2023 all the way to 2019 when he won the World Series with the Nationals. In that time, Rendon became the underrated king, the guy who is this fantastic player, but he's never getting the love that he deserved. He was always underrated. This guy had 2 Silver Sluggers in All-Star. He finished 6th in MVP voting, 5th in MVP voting, 11th in MVP voting, 3rd in MVP voting. He finished 10th in MVP voting. Like he's been a dog and a player. The Angels then signed him to a 7-year deal worth $245 million. And we're thinking, wow, the Angels are in it. They just got the guy to help Trout. Ohtani's in the picture. Now you got Trout, Ohtani, and Rendon. This is a team to be scared about. COVID happens. Funny enough, COVID season was Rendon's best season with the Angels, the shortened season. He played 52 games. He only missed 8 games. He had 9 home runs. He finished 10th in MVP voting. He had a 2.2 WAR. That was the best season he had with the Angels. Since then, since COVID, which is when he played 52 games, you got to go back to 2019 when he played over 100 games. He did not have a single season with the Angels where he's played over 100 games. He played 58 games in 2021. He played 47 games in 2022, 43 games in 2023, 57 games in 2024. Last year, did not play baseball. The entire contract, he's been hurt, he's been rehabbing, he's been this, he's been that, he's been suspended, he's been whatever the case has been. So as a whole, I like to do this for a second. In the 7-year span that he had with the Nationals, he had a 30.3 WAR. He played 916 games. He had 136 home runs. He had an OPS of 859. That is a 7-year span from him with the Nationals. You look at what is a 6-year deal essentially at this point because the 7th year is coming up. So 6 years with the Angels. He's played in 5 seasons. He has 3.9 WAR. He's got 257 games played. He has an OPS of 717. So just to make up the value, essentially, that he had with the Nationals, Rendon, if he plays this season, let's say he does, he would have to accumulate 26 plus WAR to make up the amount of WAR that he has missed, or to value it with the Nationals. It's a crazy, Rendon's career, you can exactly say when it gets sliced in half, and it's when he signs with the Angels. And I don't know if it has anything to do with the Angels organization. We know they're not the best run organization. They've got reports of not fixing AC and stuff in the clubhouse, and the clubhouse atmosphere doesn't seem as good as other teams when it comes to the Angels. But you got a guy who got 30 career WAR, and now he's a guy that got you 3 in 7 years worth $245 million. I think the Angels would love nothing more to just get out of it. He's still owed $38 million for the contract this year for 2026. Whether he plays it or not, I don't know. But if 2024 was the last we've seen of Anthony Rendon, his career would be very interesting. His career numbers would shape out good. 34.2 WAR, 158 homers, an 829 OPS, 2 Silver Sluggers, an All-Star, and a 2019 World Series. He's a good player when you look at it like that, but he's got a great first half of his career and a horrid second half. It's just pretty funny to me. And I wonder if the Angels will actually get out of it or not. But regardless, that is the story with Anthony Rendon and the Los Angeles Angels. All right, now bringing it to the last part of today's episode, we've got the NL West free agency needs. We're finally wrapping this up. I started this 5 episodes ago with the AL East. Now we have the NL West teams and what I believe they should be doing and what should they be looking at during the off season. So some things to consider. Starting things off, we've got the Los Angeles Dodgers, defending champions 2 years in a row. They won it in 2024. They beat an AL East team. They won it last year, 2025. They beat an AL East team. And I look at their team and I got to think, do they need anything? And the easy answer is no. The Dodgers do not need to do anything. Obviously, they will because you always got to improve because teams will be looking to improve. They're losing Miguel Rojas and Evan Phillips and Michael Kopech and Kirby Yates. So the bullpen obviously needs work. And obviously that's kind of the only thing for me that stands out about the Dodgers because you've got Shohei Ohtani, you've got Mookie Betts and Freeman and Smith and Muncy and Hernandez and Edman and Pages. And hopefully he has a good postseason next year. You got Hai-Sung Kim, who will come into his own playing second base now with Miggy Rojas gone. And if worse comes to worse, you've got Alex Call still there. You've got Alex Freeland. You've got Estuary Ruiz. You've got guys. And you look at the rotation, you got to think, everyone needs starting pitching, right? They've got Yamamoto. They've got Snell. They've got Glass now. They'll now have Ohtani healthy for a full season. And maybe Sasaki gets into that spot now. Emmett Sheehan, there are possible options there. The bullpen... you're like, they just lost some guys. They definitely need to work on the bullpen. Yeah, they do, but they still have Alex Vesia. They still have Blake Trinan and then Anthony Banda and Brusar Gratterall and Tanner Scott and all these guys who are hurt, who are still there as well. Brock Stewart, he's on the IL, but he's still there too. Like, the Dodgers don't need to do anything. They don't. I'm sorry. I don't think they need to do anything. They will. And the sad thing is that they'll probably sign Bo Bichette, or they'll probably make this big crazy splash for a guy for $8 million or for 8 years with $400 million because they can. And that's the scary thing, is that the Dodgers can do nothing and are still a World Series favorite entering 2026. Who knows what they actually will do? They can be tamed this offseason. I really think the Dodgers can be tamed and still win the West pretty easily and still do the stuff. And again, last year shows that it's not always going to be the way you expect. But the Dodgers, they knew they were going to make the postseason. Yeah, they kind of got, their feet a little dirty while getting there. But they did so because they wanted to make sure guys were healthy for the postseason because that's what matters. And it showed. They easily took care of the Phillies. They easily took care of the Brewers. Yeah, they definitely struggled against the Blue Jays, but got there in Game 7. So, at the end of the day, the Dodgers are still a super team. They're still a very good team. They're the team to beat. And I don't think they need to do anything, but whether they do or don't, it's up to them. But for me, Dodgers, they're chilling. A team that is not chilling, San Diego Padres. They've got stuff to do, man, because they are quite literally lost a good chunk of their team. Dylan Cease is no longer with them. He's a free agent. Scratch that. He's with the Blue Jays now. Ryan O'Hearn, Robert Suarez, Luis Arias, Michael King, Elias Diaz, Jose Iglesias. The list goes on and on and on. The Padres have a lot of guys who are in free agency, which means they have holes to fill. Yes, they still have the main core. They still have Fernando. They still have Jackson Merrill and Manny Machado. They're keeping Ramon Laureano. They have Bogarts and Cronenworth. They've got a rotation right now with Nick Pivetta at the head, Joe Musgrove, who did not play at all in 2025 because of his injury. He should be healthy, ready to go, close to, if not at the start of the season. What does that have to say about him? Obviously, they went all in at the trade deadline last year to acquire Mason Miller. So even though Robert Suarez is gone, they still have an elite closer at the back end of the bullpen. Of course, we know that Yu Darvish announced that he's going to be needing elbow surgery. So he is done for 2026. So you lose out on Darvish. You now lost Cease. You lose Michael King. What does that mean from the Padres? You got to go get starting pitching. And I think pitching in general, but specifically starting pitching. For me, I look at this Padres team the last couple of years. It seems they've gone all in every year. They keep going all in. And then they come back the next year with more money to spend and more players to go and get. And it's just like, how does this Padres team function management-wise? I don't understand it. I tried looking into it a little bit. Because I'm like, okay, well, they have Fernando Tatis on the books for how long? And they've got all these crazy contracts they've given up, money that they're owed to so many of these players on their team. Their payroll is pretty high. I mean, you go through it this year alone. If we're just looking at 2026, Manny Machado, 25 mil. Xander Bogaerts, 25 mil. Tatis, 20 mil. Musgrove, 20 mil. Darvish, 16 mil. Merrill, 2 mil. But his stuff is about to go way, way up there as well. Nick Pivetta, 20 mil. Jay Cronenworth, 12 million. Ramon Laureano, 6.5. Yuki Matsui, a bullpen arm, is getting paid 5.7. They're going to have Jason Adam eligible for arbitration. He's got probably a $7 million price tag. Gavin Sheets probably got $4 million. You know, you go through all of that, it's a pretty hefty pay. They're already at like a 210 payroll. You know, so I think that for me, it's like, okay, how do you go out and replace a guy like Dylan Cease and, you know, get the value of a guy like you, Darvish? You got to be smart with your contracts giving out. I'm not talking about go get Edwin Diaz and Framber Valdez because they're the top guys. No, go and find the value in some of those little bit of an arms. Go and get like a Steven Matz, a Morel Kelly, a Tyler Mahle. Go and get a guy who can get you solid outings because your team is good. You know, Tatis can go out there and hit 2 homers one day. Jackson Merrill, he had an injured season. If he's healthy, he's got rookie of the year. He won rookie, or no, he didn't win. He would have won if it wasn't for Paul Skeens, but he's got a fantastic, capabilities. You've got fantastic abilities out there on the field. You've got a great team. Supplement it with just decent guys. I'm not talking about spending 20 plus million for an arm. Go and get a guy who's going to maybe be worth maybe 9 million. And he can get you 30 plus starts and get you a 4 ERA. You'll take that if you're the Padres. You know, maybe a Ha-Sung Kim. Is there a reunion on the table there? I don't know how the relationship, ended there. But, Luis Arias is gone. Like, who's right now? They have Jay Cronenworth going back from first to second, and then Gavin Sheets coming in from the outfield to play first base. Is that what they're going to do? Do they go and get a first baseman / second baseman and keep Cronenworth at first and do something like that? I don't know. Maybe you go get a Jorge Polanco if you're looking to spend a little bit more money to replace him. You put Polanco at second, keep Cronenworth at first, and you can use Gavin Sheets off the bench or put him in the outfield if you want. In left field, have him platoon with Laureano. Like, I don't know what the master plan is there. But yeah, with Musgrove coming back off of injury, Darvish is on injury. You've lost Cease, you've lost King. You got to spend on some starting pitching. So, yeah, for me, it's about how do you find some of those budget guys, maybe get some veteran guys, maybe go after a Chris Bassett. Could be a nice fit there in San Diego. So, there's options there for the Padres. You got to be really smart with your money. But then again, they're like the Dodgers where I'm like, oh, you got to be smart with the money. And then they're going to throw $300 million. Like, I can't tell you. Like, it's just funny to me how the Dodgers and Padres have been operating the last couple of years. I would expect a more tailored approach from the Padres. But again, They've got some money to spend because they've had so many guys walk. Again, Cease, King, Arias are big 3 guys that they've lost. You throw in Robert Suarez into the mix there, and you've got like a couple holes to fill if you're the Padres. So finding ways to bring in some help. Maybe you bring a guy back even. I'm sure they would love a reunion with Arias maybe, or maybe bring Robert Suarez back for the bullpen. Like, I don't know what the master plan is there for the Padres, but I definitely need to see something happen because they've got holes to fill. Because if they run the team out that they have right now, don't think it's going to work out too well for them. Continuing on, we've got the San Francisco Giants, who similar to other teams, I think a main thing to go after is starting pitching. I think that's kind of a lot of the teams that you got to do. The Giants, they're in a nice position. They, saw some improvements toward the end of the year from the team. They didn't have too many free agents, guys they've losing. Wilmer Flores, Dominic Smith, he kind of played a little bit of a role for some injuries with Devers at first base and the whole thing there. Justin Verlander, who had a really tough year, but, what has he still got left in the tank? Does he come back to the Giants? Does he go somewhere else? Team-wise, they've got nice pieces. You've got your first full season of Rafael Devers. You've got your second season of Adames there, Jung-Ho Lee, Matt Chapman, Heliot Ramos, Bryce Eldridge, number 1 prospect in their organization. He came up for a little bit, definitely struggled, but, what does a first full season in the big leagues look like for the 21-year-old, right? Like, he's only 21, give him a chance. The bullpen obviously needs a lot of work. There's some guys who kind of stepped up towards the end of the year, had some nice appearances. But as a whole, they had to trade a lot of their bullpen at the deadline. They got rid of guys like Camilo Doval, the Rogers. I think it was Tyler Rogers on the team, or Taylor Rogers, if not both. But right now, Ryan Walker is the only guy that you kind of know out of that Giants pen, when I look at the list here. But there's room for improvement there. And then the same thing with the rotation. I mean, Logan Webb is a top 10 pitcher in baseball. Robbie Ray, he's had flashes. He's always had flashes ever since he was with the Diamondbacks, essentially. But he's up there in age. He's going to be 35 this year. Logan Webb is about to enter his 30s. So, I mean, outside of that, you got Landon Roop, who had a tough year. Kai Wong Tang, who had an awfully tough year. So, yeah, for me, the Giants need to go out there and get some starting pitching. Unlike the Padres, who I think need to be more careful with their budget, I think the Giants could spend a little bit of money here to go and get a Framber Valdez. They can go and get, if they want to be conservative, there's options in like a Dustin May, a Zach Eflin. Like there's definitely options there for the Giants. Maybe bring in a Zach Littell. I think that's another nice option there for the Giants. So there's definitely guys that they can go and get to supplement their starting pitching, which is, for me, what the Giants need to do the most. After that is the bullpen. I don't know if they're going to be in on a name like Edwin Diaz, if they're going to be in on a name like Robert Suarez, but there is definitely some guys there who you can maybe take a chance on, like a Jordan Romano, and see what you can flip him into if you can find his form like he was when he was with the Blue Jays. But yeah, I think the Giants, they've got some deeper pockets right now in terms of their books and everything. I think there's an opportunity for the Giants to take advantage of. It's just now a matter of will they actually take advantage of it, or will they let the opportunity squander? I think the Diamondbacks are still in a good position to win, which we'll be talking about shortly here. And of course, the Dodgers and Padres are always, right there in the top teams and top echelons of things. So things to consider right there if you're the Giants. If you want to make a push for it, you show that you want to make the pushes for it when you traded for Devers. Let's see it now in 2026. Let's see it in the free agency now and see what you can get out of. Moving on here, the fourth team to talk about, and kind of the last team really that's worth talking about, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Their season started off awful, so awful that they traded away Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor and all these guys. But then towards the end of the year, they kind of figured it out as a team. Corbin Carroll and Geraldo Perdomo, they had great years. Ketel Marte, another great year. Moreno and Pavin Smith and all these guys, etc. They only finished one game under 500. They were 80 and 82. They were close-ish to a playoff appearance. I agree, maybe, but it was a tough year for them as a whole. Lots of things went wrong for them. Injuries galore. I mean, Corbin Burns and all this stuff. And Tommy John when he went down for it. So that's going to be something that the Diamondbacks have to adjust kind of off the rip is rotation-wise, because now Corbin Burns on the IL still with Tommy John. Zach Allen is a free agent, so he's off the team right now. So you've got Ryan Nelson, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt as a top three for now as you enter the year. I definitely think there could be another name that you get there. Bullpen-wise, I mean, Andrew Salfrank had a solid year. Ryan Thompson was okay. Kevin Ginkel definitely struggled. There's some notable guys there in the bullpen that you definitely know. Of course, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., he had a knee surgery towards the end of last year, so he missed the ending there. They, of course, lost their bullpen piece, their main guy, Justin Martinez. He's an electric. He had Tommy John surgery last year as well, and so did A.J. Puck. So, there was a lot of Tommy Johns, a lot of IL stuff that went wrong with the Diamondbacks. So guys like Puck and Justin Martinez, they won't be ready at the start of 2026 here. Some moves to be made there. Blaze Alexander stepped up in a big way. Pavin Smith, Jordan Lawler, I think, there's still that level there for him. I like the Diamondbacks team. I do. I like their players. I like the team a lot. There's news that they're talking about Ketel Marte, potentially shopping him around, which I think would be an interesting decision on their end to do that, because Ketel Marte has been kind of the face of the franchise since Goldschmidt left, and he's been a big piece in Arizona's playoff run back in 2023 and all this stuff here. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually go through with a trade, if they can find a match for him. For me, Diamondbacks, similar to the Giants and Padres, pitching is a big fix up there. Again, not until you get a guy like Corbin Burns back, but, find a guy for a one-year deal, kind of make this a placeholder year where you could still compete. Corbin Burns, he'll come back towards the end of the year, potentially, an August, September appearance. Who knows whether the Diamondbacks are in that situation or not for a postseason push. They can go out and take a chance on a guy like Alek Manoah, who we've seen have Cy Young stuff, who has dealt with injuries, but if he's healthy, who knows what he's got in the tank. go and maybe rip a Zach Littell. I kind of hinted at it when I said Goldschmidt is the face of the franchise. Hey, I think they've kind of got a first base slot open. Go and bring back Paul Goldschmidt for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Wouldn't that be fun? I mean, right now they have Pavin Smith listed there, but he can play the outfield as well. He can play DH. So, I mean, there's opportunities there for the Diamondbacks to definitely improve on their team. They've got a lot of young kids in the farm system right now who will be listed in the rotation or in the roster come opening day if, where they're starting now. There are guys we've seen for a while now, a guy like Alec Thomas, who we see flashes but hasn't really put it together. But yeah, Blaze Alexander, Adrian De Castillo, Jordan Lawler, Tim Tawa, these guys came up and we've seen a little bit of them now, but it's like, okay, what's the plan going forward, So I think they're more okay with testing out their lineup more so, but the guys we've seen get called up from their farm system pitching-wise, we've seen struggle a little bit. So I think that's why you got to look at starting pitching a little bit more if you're Arizona. Again, maybe bring back Zach Gallen. I don't know if that hurts them or not. He had a really tough year, but we've seen him be the ace of the Diamondback staff for years now before they acquired Corbin Burns last year. I think Zach Gallen's a great pitcher still. I think he's going to get a lot of money somewhere, whether it's from Arizona, whether it's from another team, but definitely rotation stuff for the Diamondbacks, and hopefully a solid 2026, because if they have a good start, I mean, they could definitely figure it out. So, prayers up for Arizona to have a good 2026, because we would love to see that from them. So, yeah. So that's basically all the teams. We will give a courtesy shout out to the Colorado Rockies here, because to be honest with you, I have no fucking clue what they're going to do. Sorry for the swear there. Genuinely, I generally don't no idea. I look at this Rockies team, there's now names that I know. That's a good thing for them. Ezekiel Tovar, Mickey Moniak, Hunter Goodman, what a year he had last year. Jordan Beck, Brenton Doyle, Zach Veen came up, had a couple appearances, wasn't great, got some back down. Cool. Go to the rotation. I mean, Kyle Freeland, great. Chase Dollander, great. Sure, bullpen-wise. Jimmy Herger, epic. Chris Bryant, he's on the IL. That's the Colorado Rockies that they're entering with. They lost out their free agency right now. Herman Marquez, Austin Gomber, Theo Estrada, Orlando Arcia, Kyle Farmer, Jacob Stallings. I mean, those are 6 players that I know that I now not know. Like Ethan Holiday, he's going to be coming up sooner than later. Charlie Condon, same thing. They've got guys in the farm system. For me, the Rockies are in a situation where it's like, hey, go and sign anyone, and it's an improvement, really. They lost almost 120 games last year. They finished 43 and 119. So sign someone. You don't lose 120 games. If you lose 118 games, it's a better season than 2025, right? I don't know. The Rockies are in perpetual. I don't even know what to call it. Just have fun. Go out there, call it Coors Field. It's a beautiful ballpark. Fans still show up for you guys. Go and sign someone. Go sign Verlander. Go sign a guy. Go sign Max Scherzer. Bring in some talent, some veteran talent. A guy just so the fans that show up for these Colorado Rockies can have someone they know and can root for. And if you're a Rockies fan out there, let me know what you're excited for entering 2026, because I mean, I wish you guys the best. Believe me, I love the Colorado Rockies. I love Coors Field. I love all this stuff about it. I just wish they were good, and they're not. Anyways, that's going to do it for episode here today. Like I said, a bit of a longer one, even though there wasn't much to talk about. But again, the things that were worth talking about. The oven got hot. Dylan Cease is a Blue Jay. Sonny Gray is a Red Sox. Rendon might retire. This is very exciting stuff. And now with the free agency needs done, we've done all 30 teams all wrapped up there. So I'm not sure what else I got to do for the offseason. If you got any recommendations, things you want me to look at or go over, leave them in the comment section down below. But yeah, hopefully the oven stays hot. Hopefully we got some more big fish signings sooner than later. Some early Christmas presents for some teams and some fan bases out there. But yeah, I love you all. Appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you on Monday.